Today we're making wild blueberry pie, and I think, as everybody knows, the crust is the most important part. And my secret, which is not really a secret, everybody knows this, everything should be incredibly cold, including the flour, which I also keep in the freezer right before I use it. I use ice water. You don't put the ice in the actual dough, but you want to have like a big pitcher so that you can just scoop your water from it. Ice cold cubed butter and shortening, depending on the kind of dough you're using. In Pie It Forward, I have quite a few crusts, and one of them is an all butter crust. But if you're one of those people that likes to have beautiful lattice and cutouts in your pie that come out perfectly in that crimping where you can actually still see where you crimped and it doesn't go to mush when you put it in the oven, a little bit of shortening helps you control the dough, and control is key in all of this. So I have 4 tablespoons of shortening. I have 1.5 sticks of butter, both cubed, and I have frozen them both until they're solid because I'm using a food processor. If you're using your fingers, just chill, because clearly your little nubs aren't going to be strong enough to get through everything. And I'm using 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to shove that on in to my food processor. I use a tablespoon of sugar, dry ingredients all in at once, a teaspoon of salt, and then I add my fats willy-nilly. I like to distribute it so that once I start, it starts to crumble relatively evenly. Add, and you put these on top. It's going to be noisy. Okay, and then I pulse, and I always put my hand over this because I can never find the little thing that goes in the middle and the flour. So, pull it and pulse. And what we're going for as we pulse is that you want the fats to combine with the flour, but you still want to have relatively large chunks about the size of a kernel of corn, because this will help when you roll out the dough. It'll cause it to be very flaky as it bakes. So if it gets completely integrated, you won't have that lovely flaky dough that you're going for, which is so great in a pie crust. So let's check it out. You see, there's still discernible bits of butter. That's really relatively perfect. This is a little big, but you know, that's what my paws are for. Looking good. Alrighty. We're going to add 1/2 cup of ice water. Again, not the ice, just the water. You just want it to be ice cold. Nice. And then slow, steady. And depending on the temperature and the humidity, you might not need a full 1/2 cup of water. So just keep your eyeballs on it, because it could get mushy in the summertime when it's nice and humid outside, and you don't want that. And then I add about a teaspoon of lemon juice. Adds a lovely tartness. And what you're going for is, again, it's not a, still left some water up there. It's not a soggy dough, but when you go and put your paws in there, you want it to hold together like that. So if you can pinch in it, it holds together, then it's perfect. Even though it's still crumbly, this is how I would like my dough to be. I refrigerate the dough for 20 minutes. And this does a couple things. Flour has gluten in it, which are proteins that once you start working them with liquid, they start forming these bonds and they become stronger, but that also means they become a little rubbery. So if you let them rest for 20 minutes, the gluten relaxes and you can roll it. And if you've ever rolled a dough too quickly, and you notice that you roll it out and then it shrinks back in, you roll it out and it shrinks back in, it's because the gluten has gotten agitated. It needs some time to rest. So 20 minutes is perfect for that. The other thing is since we have added that liquid, once you put it in the refrigerator to just relax, then the liquids tend to saturate the flour even more. It makes it easier to roll out in the end. So you get 2 things, a relaxed gluten and a more saturated dough. So those 2 things, just 20 minutes. I plop it out, very official terminology, plopping. Okay, so you can see that it is nice and crumbly still. What I like to do, I like to have 2 sheets of plastic wrap. Because I end up manhandling it, I'll show you. You're not so much kneading as you're turning the dough over, and you're using your paws and the plastic to kind of stamp it down. Okay, at this point, I want to divide it in half. Since I smushed it together a little, it's easier to transfer. That's the only reason I do that much. I go like that. Top crust, bottom crust. Looks about even. And then I continue. And I try to make it round because we are going to end up rolling this into a round, so you might as well give yourself a fighting chance from the very beginning. Kind of round. Dough. See, you can still see all those gorgeous little flecks of butter. It means it's going to be flaky and delicious. If you have a top crust that's going to be round, if you are going to do a pattern on it like this, it's a pain in the butt, or if you're just going to do little cutouts, then you want to press it out so that's relatively round. I want to do this one in a lattice, so I'm going to be cutting long strips, so I just smush it into a relatively square shape. It'll be easier to cut the little lattice strips. So square-ish, doesn't have to be perfect. Dough, done. Bottom, top, refrigerator. My crusts out of the refrigerator. My Pyrex, that's nice and clear, it's naked, so you can see that the bottom of your crust has been browned, because that's one of the gross things about making pie sometimes, is that it looks so glorious and brown and crunchy on top, and then you cut into the pie and it's this gooey mass of ugly dough on the bottom. So having it be nice and clear enables you to see that it's brown and that it's cooked through. It's kind of crucial. I mean, I love these two, and you can get good at it and figure out when your crust is done, but this is a nice insurance policy. So what I'm going to do first is sprinkle a little flour onto my work surface. Not so much that you're adding more and more gluten to your crust, but just enough that it doesn't, still nice and flaky, so that it doesn't stick. Okay, relatively round. Get those bobs together. A little bit on top. Nice. Here. So just short strokes from the middle out, and then you turn it in very small increments so that it can be relatively round. Otherwise, you'll just have a square bottom crust. And just be gentle, be patient. Use your fingers to shove it back together when it starts breaking apart. Not a big deal. And then the easiest way to get it from the table to the pan is to use your rolling pin again and to gently roll, roly, the dough, and then transfer to here. And then gently shove it back in. Just look at those big glops of fat in there. This is fantastic news. You want to see that. Yummy, yummy. Now for the filling, fresh blueberries, preferably wild. Otherwise, if you don't have wild, not a big deal. And we're going to add the juice of 1 lemon, and you swirl it around. If there are seeds, please take them out. Oh, hello. Come here, seedy. And then the zest of 1 lemon too. You want to coat these puppies entirely with the juice so that the sugar sticks. Nice and coated. So for the filling, I add a cup of sugar, and for thickening, I add something to the blueberries called clear gel. And you've probably used cornstarch in pie before, but clear gel is a type of starch that doesn't get cloudy when you add it to something juicy. And it has beautiful thickening qualities, and it doesn't leave a murky taste in it, which I really like. It's very clean, and it lets all the fruit sing that's in the pie, as opposed to kind of make this milky mess. So to the 1 cup of sugar, I'm adding 4 tablespoons of clear gel, which I get at King Arthur Flour. Their catalog is chock full of good stuff to get for pie making. The other secret is that before you add the sugar and the clear gel to your filling, you have to stir the two together. Otherwise, a clear gel tends to clump. So just give it a nice stir. Needn't be too precious. And then you add this. And if you like, and I like, you can add about a pinch of nutmeg to the proceedings before you stir it all up. Beautiful. Yummy, yummy. And careful. Okay, not going to be perfect. Press along the edges. Egg wash, which is just 1 egg with a couple tablespoons of water swirled together, makes the perfect topping for the pie. That's what makes it nice and brown. The other lovely thing about egg wash, other than making it nice and golden brown, is that it provides a little sticky surface for things like granulated sugar or sanding sugar, which I like to use on the top to make it a little crunchy and gives it sparklies. Or I also like to use sugar in the raw, which is a lot cheaper than sanding sugar, and you can get it at the grocery store instead of at the cake store. So in the oven, 350 for about 45-50 minutes, but you'll know for sure when the juices are running and the berries are very bubbly and the top is golden brown, and you should just take a peek underneath to make sure that this is brown too, so that you don't have a soggy crust. So here we go.